What I'm hoping to show you is you being all in this sort of exploding universe of healthcare. I want to show you part of that universe which has not exploded yet, and I think it's ripe for an explosion, so I hope you'll all look at it from that point of view. I just presented most of this talk at the World Allergy Conference in Jerusalem, which is taking place right now. I took out a lot of the clinical slides not to bore you too much. So let's move on. I'll go quickly through some of the clinicals, which I'm sure you are all aware of. So first, this was my interest in this topic started with a patient of mine I've been seeing once a year because she was beautifully controlled. She has asthma, she has all kinds of allergies, she has high blood pressure, and our meetings would be about 10 or 15 minutes once a year because she was so well controlled until the last visit where everything was wrong. And me being a doctor, of course, I thought of all kinds of reasons why would this be true, and they were all wrong. So this is what happened. This is why this woman became a wreck. And I'll let you ponder the mechanism of how this happened for the next 10 minutes, and maybe we'll talk about what really happened later. So chronic disease management is critical. Chronic diseases are the par excellence lifestyle diseases. And in the United States, 85% of the healthcare budget goes either directly or indirectly to managing these diseases. And the number of people is approaching about 50% of the American population. So I'm sure this is the kind of data you are aware of. Because this was an asthma conference, I was sort of forced to choose probably one of the smallest chronic disease entities, which sort of further underlines the idea, because let's say asthma is a smaller problem than hypertension or cardiovascular disease, yet it still applies to asthma. So that's why we chose this. Out of the healthcare budget, $56 billion is spent on asthma. This is direct and indirect costs. And the number of asthmatics is increasing, at least in Western society, but also in the developing countries. For example, in Shanghai, within a few years, the incidence of asthma rose by 340%. So this is an ever-growing population. The cost is enormous, especially now. The low-hanging fruit right here, these are the old drugs. This is prednisone. It's cheap. It costs pennies. However, in the long term, it produces so many problems that we don't use it anymore. We tend to use these drugs right here. And if you have any asthmatics that you know of, these are the inhaled steroids and the inhaled long-acting bronchodilators. IT is immunotherapy, or these are allergy shots. I'm not sure if Israel uses these a lot. And on the very top, and actually the dollars are in proportion. This is a cost per month. So the newer drugs, the biologicals, which Gil mentioned, are about $1,000 to $2,000 a month per patient. So clearly, this is not a sustainable way to manage chronic disease of any sort in Western society. I mean, we just don't have the money to do this. So if we look at lifestyle, because as I said, all of these diseases are really lifestyle diseases. These are some of the actionable cofactors which we can address. However, as you could well imagine, especially if you look at me, you could tell that these are not easy to address, and to have a private coach who will take you through what kind of foods you can eat and how many steps a day you need to take, it's difficult, and it's not compatible with our economic status right now. So these are some of the things we can do something about. If we take the first one, obesity, there's an epidemic of obesity in the United States. And there's also an epidemic of morbid obesity. And these people who are morbidly obese have almost a 3 times higher incidence of asthma than someone who's a normal weight. So for every point of BMI, I think you're all familiar with the concept that it's how obese people are, how fat they are. So for every point increase, there's a 10% increase in asthma prevalence. Asthma and obesity don't mix. It's very bad to be obese and asthmatic. So can you do anything if you intervene in this process? And these are just a few studies. The point is really to look at this column right here and this column. So this is quality of life and asthma control. And you can translate all of this into economic costs too. And if you intervene surgically or with a lifestyle intervention, you can absolutely improve outcomes, reduce costs, and actually if you do this proactively, in which clearly this is not, you could prevent the development of asthma if you make people less obese. So now let's look at another point. This is activity, or rather in the United States it would be inactivity. Our work patterns have changed. We are more sedentary. Housework takes significantly less energy. And this is actually, I think, the fault of the Israelis also. This is the Roomba vacuum cleaner. I think Gil said that you're contributing to the decline of America. Yes, you are. So this is part of it. Children play differently. They're sedentary. And of course, we're a very car-centric society. So if we intervene on the level of activity, can we make a dent in any chronic disease, including asthma? And as you can imagine, I wouldn't show you the slide if the answer was no. The answer is absolutely yes. You can actually manage. Some people lose their asthma if they become active. So this old wives' tale that if you have asthma, you shouldn't exercise, you shouldn't swim, you shouldn't do this or that is false. So activity is actually, and we talked about this yesterday at the conference in Jerusalem, that most forward-leaning asthma specialists now prescribe activity as a treatment for asthma because it works. So is that it? Well, now we'll move on to the how. So in 2014, a group of very brilliant people, and I was not one of them, met in Germany. This is a little Schloss somewhere in the middle of Germany. Actually, it's the Leibniz Informatics Institute. They were social scientists, artificial intelligence people, and computer scientists. And they wanted to look at currently available healthcare applications, devices, and so forth, and to determine what is the future going to look like. So they try to find what are the problems, where are the missing links, where are we missing what this technology can accomplish, and what can we do about it. So they came up with this idea that what we need is a companion agenda to technologically managed healthcare. What is meant by that? This is the primary outcome, that what we need to find is a way for technology to support proactive well-being. So we don't necessarily have to wait for people to get sick. We can keep them healthy and out of the hands of doctors such as myself. So this is a little bit against what you were hearing before. Now, once you have this technology, then why not apply it to managing people who are already sick, which was the next step. And there was a lot of controversy about this statement because the people who first suggested it were very anti-medical. They did not want to medicalize technology, yet it became very obvious that if it works to prevent disease, why not use it to help people who are already sick? So they came up with this concept called wealth. And this is a triple play on words. It's mobile health and proactive well-being. And wealth is obviously a combination of all of these, but also wealth in the economic sense. Because people who are healthy are more creative and more productive, therefore, economically, they do better. So how do we create this wealth? This is very important, that what this needs to be is a sustained strategy. The majority of technology for healthcare right now is either in a hospital setting, there are diagnostic tests and so forth, but in terms of the individual user, a lot of these technologies, whether they be apps or Fitbits or anything else, end up not being used after 6 to 12 months. So sustained is a key word, and then what you are looking for is to extend this experience of well-being on an emotional and a visceral level, both on a micro, meso, and macroeconomic level. Now, the micro would be the individual, perhaps their friends and their immediate family. The meso would be the clinic, the hospital system, the insurance company, and the macro would be the community in general, the country, government, and so forth. So the idea is to have this well-being really percolate from the bottom up rather than being imposed from the top down because of financial reasons. So somebody else, I think Gil made this point, that well-being has an N of 1, that everybody's well-being is different. We are all different people, we're different, we have different needs, different aspirations, so the N is 1. And this is where artificial intelligence and technology actually can facilitate the development of proactive well-being. The notions of health need to be rethought. Right now, we tend to think of health as simply the absence of disease, which is not necessarily true and not necessarily productive in terms of what can we accomplish with that thought. Again, I know who I'm speaking to, so I apologize. I'm not trying to disparage anyone, but the interactive design needs to be rethought also, as does the role of data. And as you know, a lot of the applications that some of you produce and hospitals generate is data that may not necessarily serve the needs of the individual. So how we obtain that data and how that data is used needs to be reconsidered. And finally, but obviously last but not least, how to engage the stakeholders. And the stakeholders are, again, the individual, the hospital system, and the country in general. I think was Gil who said, well, what are the barriers? Well, this is a very short list. It's by no means meant to be exhaustive, but I think these are clearly some of the barriers to successful mHealth applications. And you can probably choose several or all of them and add several more. The current motivational models, which apply probably to 99%, so to this exploding universe of thousands of apps and devices and sensors and so forth, the motivational model resides in the lower right-hand corner. It's very conscious, very logical. You need or you must take 10,000 steps every day to be happy. You're appealing to the rational and the logical in a person. And people don't like someone telling them what to do. So these models don't work very long. They break down, and this is why Fitbits end up in drawers after 6 to 12 months. Now, obviously, this is a companion agenda. There are people who will run a marathon every day and eat, vegetables and go to bed on time. So those are not necessarily the people who need to be involved here. However, the majority of people do not run marathons and eat vegetables every day. Now, is health the primary motivator for what people do? Well, it isn't. And if you look at the extremes of it, neither the left side nor the right side got to where they are because health was a primary motivator. Dara Torres did not become an Olympic swimmer and acquire a body such as this because she wanted to be healthy. So the motivators are, I think, and well, not I think, these obviously I'm speaking for the group, we feel that the motivators are not the right ones are being looked at to develop sustained results. So this is the area that we want to explore, and this is the area that I would propose to all of you to consider in the next app or device that you are thinking about. This is why people continue doing what they're doing. People do what they like to do. They eat what they like to eat. They talk to people they like to talk to. So this is the area that is the most likely to produce sustained results. Does it work? Well, ask Facebook if it works. Clearly, where Facebook is today is not entirely rational and logical. The reasoning is not entirely rational. You don't need to have 1,900 Facebook friends in order to be happy, but you think you do. And a lot of teenagers do. So do these models work? Absolutely they work. They've been used, and the proof is in the pudding that they work. Now, in Vancouver in 2015, this conversation continued, and what came up is a short list of qualities that we felt are necessary to create a successful wealth-promoting system. So this is, again, something I think Gil talked about, that it has to be about me. But in addition, it has to be about me and my friends and my family and my community. It has to be social, and it must be non-tyrannical. It can't, at the end, it can't tell you what to do. It has to be aspirational. In other words, everyone has something they would like to do, something they would like to eat, someplace they would like to visit. Perhaps metaphysics is something they'd like to explore. You never know. They may not have the possibility to do that, but they have those aspirations. So it also needs to be playful and contextual. If you want to go, I don't know, what is that sport where you have a kite pulling you on the water? It wouldn't... Kite surfing. So let's say you want to do kite surfing, but you live in the middle of the desert or in Iowa, it may not be easy. So context is important. Now, what kind of things do we need to look at? And this is work of Dr. M.C. Schraffel from University of Southampton. She calls it in 5. It's very simple. I really like this a lot. And I think for being in Israel, she's in Britain, so she said tune. I think nudge would be a better word here. This is what people do in order to be happy. A body needs to move, so we need to move more. We could eat less, but we need to eat better quality food. The brain is made to be happy if it learns. So to cogitate makes people happy. If you sit in front of the computer, you don't learn anything all day, your brain isn't forced to learn. At the end, actually, it leads to depression rather than happiness. So this is another one of these in 5. Engage. Engagement is important for us to be healthy and feel good. Engagement does not mean engaging with 1,900 Facebook friends. It would be having a coffee with 2 friends of yours, or having dinner with your family, or some kind of a social setting rather than a computer-mediated interface. And sleep is important. All of these things are skills. They could all be learned. They could all be practiced. And if you master them, you'll be happy. So, how do we develop this, or how we are developing this? It's incredibly difficult. I think Gil showed a picture of how the healthcare system works, and you had this maze of a variety of this and that, and it is very difficult, but I think we are getting close to be able to get this partnership together of computer scientists, social scientists, and medical scientists to create this mobile lifestyle assistant. We feel we could do it, and just to show you the conceptual how this concept is supposed to work. This little guy there is our mobile lifestyle assistant. And on the road to happiness and well-being, the fellow on the lower left obviously doesn't look too happy, and he's fairly bored with life. However, somewhere deep inside his head, there's something that he'd really like to do. And his mobile assistant looks at what is around him, what is his health status, what's going on in his community, what the environment is like, what is the culture around him, and comes up with an option of A as a function of where this guy happens to be, both physically and mentally. If the activity that actually does take place is something that he likes, it creates a feedback loop, a positive feedback loop, and next time he thinks about perhaps I'd like to do C or H or Q, and again, the mobile lifestyle assistant can put those activities in context of what he can really do, what's around him. Eventually, meeting other like-minded individuals, leading, and this is obviously an allegory at the end. This is a community which, if their well-being quotient is increased, there is an economic gain, healthcare gain, and a gain in well-being. However, the improvement in health is secondary. So all of these lifestyle changes lead to better health. So this is why I was saying that this is sort of contrary to what doctors are trying to accomplish right now, and contrary to some of the health technology, what that is trying to accomplish, because we're trying to keep people out of doctors' offices. I'd like to acknowledge three people that are essential to this presentation. One is MC Straffel from University of Southampton and the Artificial Intelligence Lab at MIT. Elizabeth Churchill, who's the Director of User Experience at Google, and Steve Yano, Chairman of 3C Technologies, an artificial intelligence company in Montreal. Thank you.